Hello guys and welcome to the channel. This is WvW. In today's video I want to discuss the balance patch that just dropped on April 15. We already talked about it in the balance patch preview and explained how this will affect things and our expectation to the damage, the changes to the bits, stuff like that, and covered everything in detail. However, now since the patch have dropped, we know the numbers and we can measure and test everything, so we will talk in details about what this will change bits for our builds and generally for general use and everything. And also there is few changes about the Untamed. I was thinking for a while now to do a video about how the spear work, why Untamed is getting nerfed and stuff like that. So if the video is not too long, this will be one, but if I find that it take me a lot of time to talk about the bits themselves, maybe you're gonna see it in another separate video. So without further ado, let's get right in detailed. So in case you didn't know, the idea is Arenit tried to make most of the core bits or all the core bits in the game to actually have extra abilities, to bring them back instead of every ranger using only expansion bits, at least most of the time, to give them a little bit of a buff to make the choice meaningful, and also to help even new player to really choose what they want to do. So if you're playing condition, you get the condition traits, so you choose a condition bit, stuff like that. It just making a bit better, and every core ranger trait have one of those traits. So let's start from the beginning. Marksmanship. This one have Wolf Song, and it will increase your damage by 10% if you hit an enemy that have vulnerability on him. And the Beast ability, which is the ability that you can control. So for example, in this bit is this one, and if you go for any other class, like for Druid for example, like not Untamed, it's an ability you can control basically. And if you have this trait on, since I have a wolf, all the canine, so like wolf, dogs, hyena, stuff like that, will put vulnerability on the enemy, 6 stacks, and reveal from a 600 radius up to 5 targets. It's really strong. And in fact, it will pull people out of stealth. If the hit land, so the bit is not blinded or anything, and you can land its damage, like if it hits the enemy inside stealth, it will put the reveal and vulnerability on them, so they will be removed out of stealth. So it's very useful when that thief try to backstab you, or someone try to board right next to you, or stealth trying to run away from you. It's simply you can pull them out of the stealth immediately and land it. Like for the wolf, you can land it with a fear. With the dog, you can land it with an immobilize and immediately lock them in place, stuff like that. And it's also a damage modifier for you. So every trait, you're gonna notice this, it will give you something and gives a bit something. This one is for the canine, so like we said, for dogs and wolves and stuff like that. And honestly, it's very decent in competitive now, because it competes usually with either Firesighted and Moment of Clarity. So for Moment of Clarity, unless you really have a build that count on single heavy hits, like some people use it with spear builds, because it's every little hit that actually matter. You don't have multiple hits like Mace 5 or Hammer 4 and Unleash Ambush for the hammer, stuff like that, or even Longbow. So with heavy hitting hits, people would choose that. Most other builds would actually choose that, and honestly most builds go this one, since it can scale up to 15%. But 10% is constantly there, doesn't care about the range like this trait. And if you use any canine, like if you use a wolf, you can have double CC, because now you can have the fear and the wolf have a knockdown. It's totally under control from you, and you can also have now the reveal and vulnerability. And because of that, this trait is finally buffed, and it became even a decent choice for core ranger or new players, especially in PvE, because signets will give you the fury and the might, and you can still get the effect of Signet of Stone. And even in competitive, if you want to run something like that as a survival method, you still, if you run any Signet to lockdown, like if you're playing with Power Druid, so you're running Signet of the Wild, for example, or you run a Signet for Condition Cleanse, something like that, or even the Unblockable, you will still get Fury and Might. It will really help you around, and you still get the survivability side from it. So it's really good, even competing with the other. It used to be only survivability trait, so not many people would actually go for it and choose it. So this is a really decent buff to this trait line in general. Now the second one is this trait, Allies Aid. And it works as it used to it's basically you will start casting the skill Search and Rescue when you start reviving someone. But now it also will make Moa Beast ability, like we said, the skill you can control to give barrier to you and everyone around you. And as you can see, it gave me 2240, as you can see here on my heal. Decent barrier. So if you already run a support druid or something and running heal skills like that to help your people in a raid or anything, it's extra something, because people would use Moa anyway for the heals of it. And it can give you protection or something like that, because Moa have this ability to heal, so it can heal everyone around him. So it was already a decent bit for support as a choice. Now you have more incentive to use it if you want to and playing as support druid. Now we go with Beast Mastery, and you have this trait, Beastly Warden, and it will make the ursine and porcine, which is pigs and bears basically, to get 100% extra damage and 50% health. In competitive mode, at least in World vs. World, it's 20 and 20 if I remember correctly, so it's extremely lower than this. So you get the bear to be like 37,000 in health in World vs. World, but here you get to have 80,000 health. This thing will be a monstrosity. It will tank for you like insane. Especially if you're a new player or trying to level up a ranger or something, a bear now will just keep tanking everything. Nothing will hurt it. It's crazy. To the point that it's just too crazy, I guess. Even so, the increase in damage now, the bear is not just a blob like a rock that take hits and doesn't do anything. Bears have really horrible damage. Now you can go for a damaging bit like a CC one, like this one, just to have some decent damage and CC in PvE, or completely damage, like something like that, and at least it will be tanky and will help use your damage anyway. But the most successful options is to go with something like the pigs, like the Siamos, because now it have 61,000 health. It's already too tanky. It already have a lot of toughness, and it can do crazy damage. If you can see how much damage it does, I'm not supporting it. I'm not doing anything. I'm just ordering him to attack. Look at this. No fury, no boons, nothing, and it's just very decent. It's very decent to do damage. Like, imagine yourself playing a power build. If you run a trait like that, obviously this thing is gonna be like doubled or tripled at least. And remember, in PvE they have a locked all bits, like this one and the mech, like the ranger bits and the mech for mechanist, have a locked defiance bar, which means they don't affect by CC, they don't get affected by blindness or anything. They will do with their CC, their damage, everything, just like a monster. It cannot be stopped. It used to only give taunt on the beast ability. Now it also, like we said, it will always give an effect to you. So as a skill, do something, even if you don't run the bits themselves. So if you run something on the beast ability, you want to ramp up condition on the enemy or something like that, like let's say you play it like that, you'll still get the taunt effect. So you still get something out of it, even without running the specific bit for it. The same thing for the wolves and dogs for the extra damage, and the same thing for the Moa, because it will cast the reviving skill. Now with my standard condition style traits, let's start with skirmishing. This trait used to give fury on combat on an interval of 10 seconds. It gives like 3 second fury or something like that. So right now it will actually give 8 seconds of fury on a 20 second cooldown, not 10. So it's about the same. It's just like a big block of fury faster than it used to. But it happened not on an interval, not just keep resetting. No, it happened when you cast a beast ability. So that's the effect for you. What kind of bit it support? Well, feline, avian, and drakes. So the cats, the birds like the hawk and raven, stuff like that, and the drakes, all the lizard, those stuff. And this one's probably the highest in power. So in my power build version, I actually run this for Vicious Quarry. I used to run this one, and the damage I can get from this, because I don't have use for others, I have a lot of vigor and I have a lot of cribble, so I would run this one. So this is my power build, how it looks. It's double mace and axe warhorn, stuff like that. So I used to run this one because it will give you power, and you gain might on successfully evading attacks every 1 second. I already can ramp up might insanely on the build, so this is not really a big deal. However, the 120 point power was something. So for my total DPS, if I was to run Drake, I would take this one, because the trait will give the Drakes, or feline or avian, like birds and cats, will give them 420 precision and 450 ferocity. So check the stats of it. This is without it, and this is with it. The problem is this trait gives you and your bit the power. So in order to give him the precision and ferocity, you lower its power if you remove this trait, as you can see. So I used to go with Jacaranda and Turtle. If I go with Drake, I will replace Jacaranda. Like I said before in many videos, you never change Turtle. It's as simple as that. Turtle is very strong, double CC, very tanky, and have this bubble to save your projectile. It gives you protection. For condition builds, protection also can mean healing, so it's very tanky. It's like a bear, but better in everything. So I only can change one, basically, because my 1 for damage, you will always stick to it, because this build, you never want to switch bit unless for a reason. So you switch to Turtle if your bit's gonna die, or if you want to tank, because she will give you protection, she will save you, and will tank for you even better. And if your bit dies, you have 1 minute until you can switch bits again, so it's better to switch than let your bit die. But other than that, you never switch from the bit, so you run with Drake or normally with Jacaranda, and you stick to it. Why? Because we can share boons, so doing things like that and ramping up the boon, he have double the duration of me basically, and 25 mites already. So he will have permanent boon more than I can have actually. Why? Because this trait, every boon I get is shared with my bit, and using heal as 1, that means I will copy that, and even given boons around me, like skill like that, it will already give me an him, but he will get another copy from this trait, which means he have more boons than I have, he have damage, everything. If you switch bits, the new bit have nothing. Like look at that, now he have boons, double duration, double what I have, 6, actually 12, like we said, the trait and the boon from around me. If I switch, the new one have nothing. So if you keep ramping up a bit like the Drake, you don't want to switch ever unless you have to, because your bit have insane damage, it's insane survivability, protection, regeneration, 25 stacks of might, it really do everything for you. You never want to switch bits. This is most ranger builds in PvE. Honestly, you don't want to switch. So for taking Drake instead of Jacaranda, I will have to give him Precision, Fury, and get this one, and I already have Permanent Fury, so I don't get value from the trait for myself this much. I actually give it only to the bit, but I sacrifice the might, which if I go with Jacaranda, I will still have the might. So the truth is, actually Jacaranda is still kinda better than running Drake. She have a little bit more damage. She's a bit more tanky, a bit more health, but we didn't need that. Jacaranda can heal herself every 20 seconds for already like 7k or 6k, and you can already heal her and ramp her up with boons. She is just still a little bit better. The amount of damage I was able to get in difference, I done the test by putting all condition on the golem, because Jacaranda can put vulnerability but Drake can't, so I wanted to have things consistent because I will always have vulnerability, and since I already have all boons, so I give them both constant boons all the time. So they have all the boons and the enemy have all the conditions, so I can make the test equal. And the highest I got on Jacaranda is 3,727, this number you can see, and the highest I got on Drake was 3,294. There was a few mistakes in the other numbers, so ignore them. So in general, Jacaranda actually got me a little bit better numbers. It's a good option because it's very close, and honestly you can get a little bit higher on the Drake, a little bit lower on Jacaranda, so it's very decent. And if you want something like just can take more hits because of the higher health and stuff, then maybe the Drake is better. But Jacaranda is just very comfortable, very easy. It can cleave a lot with many damage, it can heal herself, so I'm just comfortable with her. And having more power, so even without ramping up just direct hits, even the initial auto attack, having more power is a bit decent. So I think I will just stick to Jacaranda with the power build. Like, she is better anyway. If you do everything correctly to the letter, you will have better results still on Jacaranda comparing to Fang and Claw. When does that make actual difference, or when would you go to this one? I mean, the people who really can crunch the numbers, I don't have ArcDPS, never really got it to work. So if you can really find it giving more damage with a bird or a tiger, if you run it with a raid or fractal group or whatever, and you run a power ranger, then maybe you would go for this for the precision and ferocity with your bit. But if it's not, because you have to test with your own build, and it will make a difference if you have sword, because now you even have more power. So this will constantly be the better choice. So I don't think that there is a scenario when this one will actually be better. I think most of the time you will have Strider Strength to be better, especially if you're running sword, and it's just it doubles the effect now for you for the power. Now for the condition version, so this trait, arachnophobia, it replaced test for danger. Well, for condition ranger, we got a little bit of a nerf. For a start, it used to give you 120 points of vitality, which means 1200 points of health. And it gave you 7% of your vitality as expertise. So now it gives you a fixed number of expertise for you and your bit, which is 150 for you, and it gives Spider and Devourer an additional expertise of 225. So let's go for a turtle, for example. As you can see, it have no condition duration. If you run it, it have a condition duration because it has a 150. And if you go for the Devourer, it's 0, but if you bought it, it have 25 because it add to it the extra expertise that you have seen here. So it gave a total of 375 as I understand. So it buff Devourer and Spider bits. It will make them do a torment on their auto attack, an additional condition. So this twin darts for the Devourer, and this is pet for the Spiders. So you lost the vitality, you get a fixed number. So if you run a full Trailblazer or something like that, you actually used to get close to 170, especially if you run Infusion or something, it can be a little bit more than that. So even the expertise is a little bit low by maximum of like 1% or something like that. It's very close, but if you're running something like Celestial or whatever, the difference is even much less than it used to. But if you run a tanky thing with a lot of vitality and even vitality food and stuff, you would ramp up the vitality so high that the 7% will be more than 150. You get like 1%, 2% max even at least. So it's a nerf in like both sides. Unless you're not running vitality at all, it might even be a little bit more. But you will not feel it, it's very low number. However, you lost the vitality and that's the nerf I'm talking about. But besides that, let's think about damage. Who cares about few points of vitality, I guess. So the damage of the Devourer, I have compared it with Jacaranda. Usually in my PvE, this is the set I'm going with unless I really need a specific bit for another reason. So I run Jacaranda and Turtle. She's convenient, she's a melee bit, she can heal herself, she can cleave well, she still has immobilized for some CC. She's just really good, you know. I've been counting on her a lot since Bath of Fire have been released. So I replaced it with Devourer. The one was the best actually, because it have a field that we explained in the other video when we talked about the patch earlier, that one of only 2 bits in the game, when its own skill will count as yours. It completely will count as yours. So this poison field will trigger your sigil, will put sharpened stone on the enemy, everything. Even if there is a penalty for damaging the enemy, like those awakened things that have shields that will keep hitting you if you hit them, this skill will make him hit you, not your bit. So pay attention to this. Only this Devourer, the Carrion Devourer, and the Morello have this effect on their skills. However, Jacaranda on the other side, I cannot remove it from my druid because it has something in the middle. Instead of its skills being a bit skill only, it will still be a bit skill, but it will count as something coming from you. So it will not put sharpened stone on the enemy, but it will trigger some effects for you, like the sigil of Ferality, for example. It will trigger Blood Moon of Druid. This trait, because they immobilize, it's the only bit that can do that. Here, as you can see, Blood Moon effect keep ramping up on the enemy, and I'm getting those, but it does not trigger Sharpened Stone. So those 3 bits are very, very unique when it's come to how they work. Now, besides that, getting back to our point, The Devourer test actually gave me more damage than Jacaranda. I used this one because it bought the field, but there is others, like this one was the poison. It attacked like in a fan, so it was the worst damage when it comes to this skill, and no point in even cleaving. And the Lash Tail was a very high single damage on a single target, but I want the Cleave to be better, and I think the Cleave one even gave me more damage. Even so, the cooldown is longer, but the cast time is very long here, and the auto attack has the highest damage now possible. It's much more damage than actually casting skills of the bit, to be honest. So because of those numbers, I think this one's actually have the highest damage, the best ability. It have a field, a bolzing, and it can cleave enemies and put your damage on everything easier. I have done this test by giving all the condition to the enemy, since I have permanent vulnerability because I use Ferality Sigil on a condition build. So I put all the conditions, so the enemy would have already the vulnerability, because Jacaranda can put vulnerability but the Devourer can't, so it wasn't really that fair. But in a real fight, I will always have the vulnerability. So I have done the testing between the Devourer and Jacaranda, and just for Devourer I would cast the skill and let it auto attack, and for Jacaranda even tried with the mob and without the mob. For the Devourer I got 1k 685, this number you can see, and for Jacaranda I got this one as the highest. So as you can see, there is a very minor difference, like the bits don't do this much damage, and you can ramp them both up a little bit with bowing in the game. However, the biggest difference is that Devourer fight from range because it's a projectile bit, so you have to keep getting it next to you with casting the skill or with using the Venomous Outburst or micromanagement, and obviously doing that would be very annoying in an open world PvE, while Jacaranda would go just head on into things, cleave very well with only 10-second cooldown this skill, just very nice. Even having Immobilize as a CC to break Defiance bar is better than actually this very weak knockback that he have. He has more toughness, but they have both the same health and everything. So if you really want the better damaging bit, I would obviously go with the Devourer, but honestly the damage or the difference is not this big. Both of them can tank for you very decently. Both of them are not the highest survivability, even so he has more toughness, she heal herself and cleanse condition. And when you really want to survive, we actually switch to Turtle as usual. So it's really up to you. If you want to stick to Jacaranda, you can, but if you go for the Devourer for the highest damage, then you probably should. Now there was few other changes and mainly nerfs for Spear in BvB actually, and I really want to talk a little bit deeper in this, like the idea behind the nerfs and buffs in Spear, or why do I think Arenet is doing this in general. And also one of the biggest changes honestly is that the Unleash Ambush skill will now need a line of sight. People would be able to hit each other through walls and rocks, like you just don't care. And it got even reduced power coefficient, so it hit for less now, like by 20% or something like that. And it also have to be with the line of sight of the enemy, because it hit from like 600 range. It's crazy to avoid, so I guess that makes sense. Even so, it's a little bit different comparing to many skills that just hit in front of you, so they will hit through their own AoE, like 240 or whatever, from melee to other. So even if you hit next to pillar or something, it will land. This one now a little bit different, but always had a very huge range, so you would be completely isolated by a big wall and you're supposed to still hit through it. Is a little bit weird, so they changed it this way anyway. And Force Fortification also for BvB is no longer 50% damage reduction, it's only 33. So it's a little bit of survival mode and still have the stability and all, but it's not, as people used to call it, the raid boss moment. So those are the general changes for our ranger. And also I want to get for the relic, because the relic of thrones now actually got reduced from 50 points of condition damage stacking up to 10, so 500 to 30 in PvE. So it now goes to 300. It's still tiny bit higher effectiveness than aristocracy, but honestly it's no longer worth it at all to ramp up this huge amount of time just to get this damage. Relic of Sauron is not a great choice in PvE anymore, even for those longer fights. Maybe you would still consider it in some like raids or whatever if the encounter really can ramp it up and keep it on you, but usually there you would go with the Fractal Relic, so you would calculate the damage and see which one would work. But I don't think it's worth its annoyance, at least in use anymore. I already was not using it. I stick to Relic of Aristocracy for my PvE build, and now even more reason not to. So in the next video I will be talking in details about Spear and comparing few things and weapons and stuff. Like I have few ideas I want to share, but we will end it here for this video. And don't forget to like and subscribe for the next one when we talk about those nerfs in a little bit of detail and in Spear, Untamed or Ranger in general. That's it for the video, and I'll be seeing you next time. Peace.